thank you for coming over to the SLO Lounge today.
Da-da-da.
Episode 1, I'm so thrilled to have you today, and a little bit of backstory on what we're doing here in this San Luis Obispo themed studio is an idea I had for a new show. As you do, as well as many others, we love San Luis Obispo, SLO County, city, all of the things. And, just through my short time living here, but having traveled here for quite some time, it was just really cool to meet so many inspiring people. There's so much to offer here, whether it's recreation, business, art. And so I wanted to have you on today. Episode 1, welcome, Alan Root.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So can you tell us a little bit, I know offline you mentioned you are also a recent transplant to San Luis Obispo.
Well, I say that with tongue in cheek. I am a fairly recent transplant here from Cheyenne, Wyoming. I've lived here since 1965. So, just kind of finding my way around and all that stuff. But the good part about that is that I've been able to see a lot of really interesting growth and development in the city over those years. And went to junior high and high school here and know a lot of people that did that same thing. And so it's been really good.
That's fantastic when you get to grow up somewhere and then be there as well, because you're so moved by the place. And in talking about, again, the motivation for doing this show, whether it's talking with businesses, artists, local leaders, storytellers, you're someone who is very in tune with many of those things. But today we're talking about your involvement with SLO County Arts. Can you tell us more about your involvement with that?
So I've been involved with SLO County Arts for a while. They were called Arts Obispo. Some people might recognize that name. Probably for 30 years, off and on. Anne Ream was a force to be reckoned with. She passed away in 2014, but she was classically trained. She was a very elegant, very articulate woman. She cared deeply about the cultural fabric of our county, and she knew how to twist arms when she had to. So she was a real advocate for new programs and for the County Arts Council. I rode in a car with her to Paso Robles on a couple of times where we would speak to the city council about having a public art ordinance in their community, which didn't go anywhere as of yet. We haven't won them over yet. But so in those days, it was organized a little differently. I was on a task force that helped craft the first public art ordinance for the city of San Luis. I was credited recently in an article saying that Alan Root wrote that ordinance. That's not exactly true. I put in my 2 cents and did a little editing, but, people that know that world better than I do crafted that thing. So was involved in that. We went through kind of a dark period with some staff changes and stuff with County Arts Council, and then right into the pandemic. And that was really quite a lot to navigate. And so we're coming out of that now, and I would have to say I am super, super excited about County Arts Council. I'm on the board. I'm the president of the board right now. We just got 2 new board members, and so we're fleshing out our board. We've got 2 really capable staffers. I'm happy,
Well, that is just wonderful, though. And you and I got connected recently through my work with the city as a visual arts volunteer. And you were someone that was brought up as someone who is very passionate about what you do. And so you said something to me that day. You said art is very important. Many people, artists and more, say that. But I want to get to know why you think that in particular and why it really betters a community in San Luis Obispo in this context.
How much time do we have?
As much as you need.
So I'll start with the value to the community. Several years ago, we were Arts Council, or probably Arts Obispo in those days, but anyway, we were involved in a nationwide survey where we had a bunch of volunteers who would park themselves out in front of the film festival or the theater or the PAC or any of those kind of venues and talk to people coming out and fill out a brief form. And people were doing that all over the nation. And it was compiled into a study of what what does the cultural arts industry mean to communities? And what that translated to San Luis Obispo County in those days is not just the events and the ticket prices and that sort of thing, but, people were asked, did you come from out of town? Are you spending the night? How many days are you going to be here? Blah, blah, blah. And so that extrapolated into a $40 million hit every year. So the cultural industry in San Luis County contributes $40 million a year to the local economy. So, in terms of kids testing the cognitive values are better in schools that have really vigorous public art programs. Their math scores are better and all that stuff because of what they develop. So I'm a huge proponent of that. It's how I make my living. It's how I keep myself occupied late at night with a pencil and a pad.
So the value is wide-spanning, to say the least, in so many different areas.
And I don't think some people realize that or recognize that, I don't know what strawberries bring in. I'm sure that's the front runner in terms of economic benefit to the county, but 40 million isn't chump change, That's a lot of money.
I think that's something a lot of people don't necessarily think about in terms of commerce is art. They think about, hard goods and things like that, but of course you can buy art, but the ways that it brings in, this huge boost to the economy is something I didn't consider.
The gallery has to employ people and they have to pay for the space and, the events that occur. They have people in the lobbies and all that.
Yeah. And just walking around downtown, I think coming from Santa Cruz, I think Santa Cruz is a community that really values art as well. Walking around, you see it. And here is something too. And there's just something that really makes it feel kind of warm, homey. People feel good to be here. So I think it's very important in that way as well. So you're an artist yourself.
I am.
And I saw a photo of something that you were doing with metal, some sort of trees or something.
Oh, yeah.
Your work is very impressive.
Why, thank you.
Can you tell us more about like the type of medium that you like to work with? Have you done anything that's been on public display in the area?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen that patio furniture that's made out of used horseshoes?
I have.
Well, that's not what we do.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a cheap joke.
Got me.
Yeah. We've done, I think, 11 or 12 competitive public art projects in San Luis Obispo, in California, in the Western United States, as far away as Phoenix.
And the reason I ask you that is because as an artist yourself and being so closely involved with the art here in San Luis Obispo, have you gotten a chance to hear from people about how either your work or the work around the city has really touched them or inspired them to get into art or just, some sort of story like that?
Well, there have been stories like that in, just based on what I've done with my career. Haven't done it since COVID, but I'm a graduate of San Luis High. Go Tigers. And I've done a couple of like hour-long or period-long seminars with the welding classes at San Luis High with Mr. Fay, Tim Fay. And we'll do a big fiery, noisy demonstration of something that I is kind of a trademark thing. And then we put up a bunch of slides and I narrate and I'm open for questions. And it's pretty interesting because when we get started, they're cool. They're 17, 18-year-olds, it's like, okay, this is an old dude. When's he going to be done? And then they start looking at the photographs and hearing the stories, and it's all photographs of things around town, things that they would recognize. And invariably, it's like, Mr. Root, we want to start a company. Can we take you to lunch? Or come see what I'm building. And they're just dragging me all over the place and looking. It's great. And my message to them is, this is what I chose to do with the skills that I learned in this same room that you're learning the same skills, only it was a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing to get to connect people with their passion and to get to recognize it at such a young age as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure at that age that I was clear that that was going to be my path. Mm-hmm. But when I look backwards, it's like, well, yeah, of course,
Amazing.
I tell them I graduated from San Luis High in 1972 and they go, oh. And I said, well, the streets were paved. It was a long time ago, but come on.
myself a filmmaker now doing podcast productions as well, but I think I knew from about the time of middle school that I wanted to do that as my path. And, that's also in the world of art. And it's sometimes hard to describe, kind of that joy or that inner feeling of, purpose when you have found something that you like to do, want to do. When was it for you that you knew that this is something that you wanted to build a life off of and put yourself in the community toward?
Wow. That's an evolution, and it took quite a while. When I graduated from high school in 1972, I was destined and determined to go to the School of Architecture at Cal Poly. And I decided to take a year off. And I worked at a horse ranch with a friend up in Grass Valley, and I did some other things. And came back to San Luis, and I just needed a job. I'd been working in a car dealership, cleaning up used cars, and that wasn't my path. I was clear about that. But a friend of mine said, hey, I'm working at this weld shop out past the airport, and they're hiring. You should come talk to them. And that was, it was called GK Enterprises. The building still exists, but now it's a tackle warehouse or a tennis warehouse or somewhere, one of those warehouses. And it was the largest metal fabrication business in the county. And I started out, cleaning and grinding and prepping snow plows for painting and doing all that grunt work. And within 3 years, I was the foreman of the facility and had my structural certifications and all that stuff. We were building stuff for Cal Poly and Hunter Liggett and all over the place. And my boss was a interesting, flamboyant man. They built race cars on the weekends and after hours. So there's these 1,500 horsepower blown Hemi slingshot dragsters that we had to move out of the way to build hand railings on the tables, and then, so I was I looked at this whole world of, in metal shop in high school, we had our little projects that we did, but this was like, it opened up. I learned about TIG welding, which is a really delicate process. It's really great. And just a lot of stuff like that. And I set out after 3 years working for that business to have my own business. But then it took being pregnant with my son, who's 34 now. And I felt like, my wife and I both felt like I was working too many hours, not around enough, not making enough money. So I put everything in storage and I went to work as a production manager of a foundry, a bronze foundry in Paso Robles. So I was there for about 1.5 years, and I learned about that part of the art world and dealing with pretty prickly clients and stuff like that. And I had an opportunity to bid the interior work for Ian's restaurant in Cambria, which is long gone. But I spent the weekend doing drawings and figuring it out. And I thought, I'm going to submit this. And if they don't like what I've presented, I've got a job to go to Monday at the foundry. And I gave it what I thought was an exorbitant price. And they loved it. And so I waved goodbye to the foundry and got all that equipment out of storage. And I said, from now on, we're doing just high-end decorative stuff. We're not going to build racks for pickups or install equipment in restaurant kitchens or any of that. We'll leave that to somebody else, but we're going to concentrate on this. And actually, that's when we started getting a lot of community attention and when we really started making money. So it's been a process.
Yeah. That has to feel so good when you get to a level of understanding more of what you like to do, what you want to do, and of course, a certain level of expertise to get people to pay you for this work as well.
Yeah. You have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You have to demonstrate.
Yeah. And you have done just that. What does that support from not only, private sector, but also the support from the city, the county? How has that gone for you? What has that felt like when you get the opportunity to continue this work?
It's been great. It's been great. My history with the city, I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version, seemingly anyway.
We've got time.
Okay, good. That's good. Sydney Holcomb was a longtime client, a benefactor. She lived in a really beautiful custom house up near Cal Poly off of Slack Street, over in that neighborhood. The work we did on the front of her house was my first Obispo Beautiful Award, which is something that used to be given out yearly. And I have probably 6 or 8 of those for different things we've done around town. And Sydney let my longtime design and business partner, Dave Curry, and I let us just stretch. Like this is and she had exquisite taste. It was really fun working for her. And she was a community activist. She was the beginning of Residents for a Quality Neighborhood. And I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but they're around town. And she talked to me one day and she said, you should go on the Architectural Review Commission for the city. And I said, really? And she goes, you'd be good at it. I think you'd like it, and they need you. And so I went down and, have to apply for it, and I did that. So I spent a total of 16 out of 21 years on the Architectural Review Commission and saw an awful lot of the development that we see going up now or what's gone up in the last, 10 years or so. And it was a very interesting process. And I got to know a lot of the people in the city and stuff. And then as our public art inventory started expanding, I noticed over my shoulder here is a picture of Iron Road Pioneers up near the railroad tracks. Yeah. We installed that when it was first installed, and we've been up there 5 times total because of vandalism. And I have an editorial for the paper that I'm going to get published here pretty soon about that very thing. Because I don't think people are aware that we have a lot of that we deal with in the city. So I've been doing that for years and participating in Arts Council and doing all that sort of thing, doing all the public art stuff that we've done. We've done, the Communities Bridge, which are the benches near the Parks and Rec headquarters down there, Emerson Park, that used to be downtown. And we did Perpetual Hope, which is in Mitchell Park. It's kids on a life path. And a family who had lost a little girl to cancer put a lot of the money up for that piece. And so there's probably 10 or 12 kids on this path. And the path is held up by adults, but they're kind of nondescript, The kids are very colorful. And David and the 2 Davids and my kids are all, represented there. But the last figure is a little girl in a nightdress who's only attached by holding the hand of the last kid in the line. And the title of that one is Perpetual Hope. And the tagline is, our perpetual hope lies in the unfolding promise of the next generation. And we've done some other kind of incidental things in public art around town and some other architectural things. Mother's Tavern and what used to be the Morgan Stanley building on Santa Rosa and some of those. So what was the question again? I'm kind of rambling.
Oh, yeah. No, that was beautiful. No, that was just a wonderful testament to all things art in the city. But we were talking about the support from, community leaders in the city and at the county level. But it sounds like you have it.
I was recently, I think I'm officially hired as conservator of our public art in the city of San Luis Obispo. We have a new public art coordinator, Amanda Grishop, and thank goodness that she's here. Oh my gosh. It's a dedicated position, which it hasn't been. That position is somebody who shares their time with after school activities and Laguna Park activities and stuff like that. Now that's all she does. And so the first thing she said is, can we get on top of the physical condition of all of our public art? And so we devised a plan. And I came up with what it's going to take to survey all of that stuff. And they said, let's go.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Fully dedicated position. And Amanda's who introduced us. So
yes.
What a great addition. Going back to the day we met just a couple weekends ago, can you talk a little bit about the San Luis Obispo Museum of Art and that recent installation, Tidewalker by April Banks?
Yeah. I don't know that artist or that work very well, but I loved what they talked about that day, about what it represents. And that for me is so much a part of the art, when you can figure out what the motivation was and what the message is meant to be and all that. It really enriches the experience of the art. But I love that museum. I love that it's there. I love the energy that they have and the things that they're doing. There are some of the, I was going to say old like me, but I'm not bitter about it. Some of the older artists and stuff around town that miss the art center, because that was a place where they could have shows and they could have their sculptor group meetings and they could have the watercolor club meetings and stuff. And that's not available anymore. But also the level of the work that the museum is bringing in is so much higher than it used to be. Nice. So that's another thing we saw at Architecture Review, is a complete redo of that museum with 4 stories and a skylight that penetrates to the basement and decks that are out overlooking the creek and stuff. Monetarily, it's a big bite. And I don't know if that will ever get built, and they've kind of shelved that fundraising for now. And I think they're trying to develop some strengths in other areas, and so that maybe when they have that foundation, they can go back to looking at a new facility. But that entire corridor now, what they call the cultural district, from the new parking structure on Napomo at Monterey, the History Museum is talking about an expansion into that parking lot there. The entire Mission Plaza is going to be redone. It starts here in the next couple of months. I'm excited about all that. It's good.
Well, you got ahead of my next question already. Where do we go from here? And there's a lot.
There's a lot, yeah. There's new public art that's incorporated into like the North Choro Improvement District and stuff. There's several artists that I know that are working on an installation under the overpass on Choro Street where it goes under the freeway. And then the new North Broad Community Park, which is right at the freeway, a block away from there. There's a lot of stuff happening in that, all the roundabouts and the new art coming to the roundabouts.
Amazing.
And then I have a pet project that I'm trying to bring to the Cultural Arts Center. And I can't say much about it right now because we're still trying to push it over a couple of thresholds. But it's a commemorative piece that's been in the works for about 8 or 10 years. And the city seems to be pretty open to at least entertaining the idea that we can put it down there somewhere.
Yeah, well, you keep your track record of these things that you're doing, and it's easy.
Yeah.
And like I said, as an artist myself, it's so cool when you see something just around that's beautiful. But to have that other level, like you said, where you can really understand a story, understand why something was created, that I think brings not only an extra level to the art, but to the place that these people visit and also call home.
Yeah, and even to the observer. When they read that title and they go, oh, it's a whole new way of looking at the piece that they had made some assumptions about already.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about art, I'm sure, another time. But on episode 1, I want to make sure that we talk about also the things that you like to do in the city for recreation. Maybe get an idea of where you could find the best food. Maybe get some nominations for other folks that we might have to talk to on the SLO Lounge.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So what do you like to do on the weekends here in San Luis Obispo?
Well, I mean, I hate to be kind of monochromatic, but Art After Dark on the first Friday of the month is a really cool thing to do. And we had our inaugural in February, after being off for a couple of months because of the holidays and stuff. It was jammed downtown.
Oh, good.
Sidewalks are full. Hey, haven't seen you in forever, and crisscrossing paths and all that stuff. So I love that. I love the Palm Theater and the special things. I just got my program for the film festival, and I'm going through that, with my little highlighter and seeing what's up for that. So I like that. I like getting outside. My studio's in Santa Margarita. I've been kind of watching the calendar, thinking if I can dash up and see what's going on with the wildflowers.
Oh, yes. It's beautiful.
Last year was unbelievable.
Yes.
I understand not so much this year, but still, it's worth the drive.
Yeah. I got a chance last year, as well as just 2 weeks ago, to see Shell Creek
nice.
Road.
Yeah.
Last year was a bit more, but still something that I think all people should go out and see that. Yeah. So many things to do around here.
There really are. And if you think about San Luis Obispo County, I mean, just from the ocean to the county lines, think of the diversity we have here. I mean, if you drive Highway 1 up the coast and you get up into that windy road with the craggy drops off into the ocean and stuff, it's magnificent. And then an hour and a half away, you can be in California Valley in the Carrizo Plains, which is a totally different landscape and nonetheless beautiful, or go to the dunes in Oceano. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dunites or not, but...
Briefly, I have.
Okay, so I was probably a junior in high school with my girlfriend. I was of driving age, so we'd driven down on the beach, and we decided to take a hike up into the dunes. There was some scrubby kind of foresty looking stuff back there, and we wanted to check it out. And we came around the corner, and there were two of the last Dunites living in the community there, and we talked with them for the afternoon. Unbelievable.
That is incredible. I've only seen the replica of one of the cabins at the Oceano Dunes Visitor Center.
Which is a wonderful place to visit as well.
But you actually got to talk with some folks.
Yeah.
That must have been amazing.
And, it's 3 years ago. I don't remember much about the conversation except that we walked away from there going, wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, all the diversity that we have in terms of landscape, but also the opportunities that we have for that.
Yeah.
My dad and I used to go clamming all the time when we first moved here, and it was great.
That's amazing. All the activities, all the things you can see, all the people that live here. Again, going back to the reasons why I started the show, I'll never run out of stories to tell here on the SLO Lounge. Yeah. That's for sure. Like I said, as I meet more and more people, this place starts to remind me of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And we hope we can keep it that way. Like you said, recognizing people, getting people to go to these downtown events, getting more involved with the city. And that's actually what I wanted to ask you before we go. How do people get involved with the arts, or just get involved, with things that are going to make this community feel like a good place to visit and live? Yeah.
If you have the time, if you have the time and you have the mettle or the patience, I would suggest signing up to be a volunteer at events at the PAC, or with the museum, the SLO Museum, or with the County Arts Council. We have events that we put on. We're going to do a big grand opening send-off thing for Open Studios in the fall, like we did last year, I think in August or September. We were in the parking lot of the bunker with food trucks and a name brand DJ, and it was really fun. And so we may do 3 of those this year: South County, San Luis, and Paso. So there's lots of opportunities like that where you can, you might have to schlep some stuff around or tell people that the bathrooms are that way or whatever, but you'll get a feel for what that particular cultural venue is like. I was just up there for a TED Talk Sunday afternoon, and there were people that were ushering there that started ushering there when it opened. So that's a good venue. Attend the events that are like Art After Dark, that sort of thing. You learn a lot.
The film festival, things like that.
Oh, the film festival, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't tell you how appreciative I am for you coming on episode 1 of the SLO Lounge. And as I go, I'll have to have you back, of course, to talk about all the things that are going on in the city.
I do have more stories.
Of course. So you're welcome anytime. And I think one of the things that I'm probably going to want to ask everybody, you're talking to somebody, you have maybe 30 seconds. Why would you tell them that San Luis Obispo, the county, the city, this area is special and why they should experience it?
I have a story that I think exemplifies that.
Let's go.
Do you remember when Oprah or somebody in Oprah's organization labeled San Luis Obispo the happiest place on the earth or
yeah
in the universe? Couple of days after that, and everybody's kind of going, oh, that's really nice. Or like, oh, what the heck? Now we're going to be overrun, But a couple of days after that, early in the morning, I'm driving down Madonna Road toward the freeway from the Irish Hills, and the intersection where you turn into Madonna Inn, the lights were out. And so, it's 20 minutes to 8 in the morning or whatever, and there's a fair amount of traffic on the road. And it just made me laugh because here's 8 lanes going this way, and with the on-ramps and off-ramps, there's probably 8 lanes going the other way into Madonna. And there's cars all over the place. And everybody in their cars going, no, you go. No, you go ahead. It's fine. And so everybody was just stuck there being courteous, So there's a special kind of feel for San Luis Obispo. Lots of diversity, lots of things to do. I spent a couple of days in LA recently doing another thing. And, in the sushi bar I went to and stuff, I would tell, where are you? Oh, you're visiting? Where are you from? And I'd say, I live in San Luis Obispo. Oh, we love San Luis Obispo. I mean, it was universal.
Yeah.
I'd love to live there,
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a little bit to live here, but it's also a very special place.
Yes. It is, and I'm so fortunate to finally have gotten the chance to move here, and I can't think of a better way to have started the SLO Lounge than by talking with you, Alan Root.
Thank you very much.
Come back again sometime, and can't wait to hear all that you do. And
I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, we will see you again next time.
All right.